On the evening of August 12, 1985, Japan Airlines Flight 123 departed Tokyo's Haneda Airport for a routine domestic flight to Osaka. It was a short journey between two of Japan's busiest cities, scheduled to last less than an hour. The aircraft was a Boeing 747SR, configured for high-density seating and commonly used on domestic routes. On board were 524 people, 509 passengers, and 15 crew members.
Yes,
Many
I
were
hope the
traveling
landing
for
is
the
just as
Obon
calm.
holiday, a time when families in Japan return to their hometowns. 12 minutes after takeoff at 6:24 p.m., while cruising over Sagami Bay, the aircraft suddenly suffered a violent explosive decompression. The rear pressure bulkhead failed, causing a powerful blast that tore off a large section of the aircraft's tail, including the vertical stabilizer. In an instant, all four hydraulic systems were destroyed. The aircraft was now almost completely uncontrollable. Captain Masami Takahama, First Officer Yutaka Sasaki, and Flight Engineer Hiroshi Fukuda immediately declared an emergency and requested to return to Haneda Airport. But the controls no longer responded. The aircraft entered a terrifying cycle of climbing and diving, known as phugoid oscillations, combined with violent side-to-side rolling, called Dutch roll. The pilots attempted everything they could, adjusting engine thrust, lowering landing gear, and later extending flaps, all without normal hydraulic control. For 32 minutes, the crew fought to keep the aircraft in the air, using only engine power, demonstrating extraordinary skill and determination. At times, the aircraft briefly stabilized. At other moments, it rolled more than 50 degrees from side to side. The cockpit voice recorder reveals growing confusion, physical exhaustion, and the effects of hypoxia from cabin pressure loss. At one point, Captain Takahama quietly said, "This may be hopeless." As the aircraft descended into denser air, control improved slightly, but it was too late. The aircraft began drifting toward the mountainous terrain of Gunma Prefecture. At 6:56 p.m., while still banking steeply to the right wing struck a mountain ridge near Mount Takamagahara. The aircraft flipped, struck another ridge, and exploded on impact. The crash was so powerful it was recorded by a seismometer nearly 100 kilometers away. Of the 524 people on board, 520 lost their lives. The official investigation revealed that the disaster began 7 years earlier, in 1978, when the same aircraft suffered a tail strike during landing in Osaka. The tail strike damaged the aft pressure bulkhead. Boeing technicians repaired it, but incorrectly. Instead of using one continuous reinforcement plate, they installed two separate plates, reducing the bulkhead's strength by nearly 30%. This flaw went unnoticed during inspections. After more than 12,000 pressurization cycles, the weakened bulkhead finally failed. That single failure triggered explosive decompression, loss of the vertical stabilizer, total hydraulic failure, complete loss of flight controls. The aircraft was doomed. Only 4 passengers
landing is
survived,
just as calm.
all seated in the rear left section of the aircraft. Yumi Ochiai, an off-duty flight attendant, Hiroko Yoshizaki, and her 8-year-old daughter Mikiko Keiko Kawakami, a 12-year-old girl. Many experts believe 20 to 50 people initially survived the crash, but later died from injuries, shock, or exposure while waiting for rescue. Although the crash site was located within hours, rescue operations were delayed overnight due to difficult terrain, poor visibility, and misjudgments. Doctors later stated that earlier rescue could have saved additional lives. Flight 123 remains the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history, the deadliest aviation disaster in Japan. Following the investigation, aircraft repair standards were tightened. Maintenance documentation became more rigorous. Pressure bulkhead inspections were strengthened worldwide. In 1987, all 3 cockpit crew members were posthumously awarded the Polaris Award for their extraordinary efforts to save the aircraft and passengers. This tragedy was not caused by weather, sabotage, or pilot error. It was caused by a single incorrect repair, hidden for years, waiting silently. Japan Airlines Flight 123 reminds the world that aviation safety is built on precision, accountability, and learning from failure. Lessons written at the cost of human lives.